What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be talking about the CARV.2 in Warzone and how a lot of the attachments, especially the barrel attachments, are completely broken at this stage, and this is why I've been holding off on making a best class setup video for the CARV.2 in Warzone. I did mention last week I was planning to have that video out over this past weekend, but then I discovered that the barrels aren't actually working as intended right now, and therefore I decided I would hold off a little bit on that. But since I've had a lot of people asking and it still hasn't been fixed yet, I did want to go over this and let you guys know exactly what's going on with these broken attachments and what your current best choices would be as far as attachment combinations for Warzone. At least until these hopefully get fixed. And diving right into it, the primary focus of this video is going to be on the barrel attachments and how they are actually broken. And let's kick it off with bullet velocity, since that's such an important stat for the barrels in Warzone. Now, in the in-game menus, there are two barrels that will boost your bullet velocity, the Strike Team barrel as well as the Task Force barrel. However, based on my tests, this just isn't true. Neither of these boost your bullet velocity at all, and in fact, there's only one barrel attachment currently on the CARV.2 that boosts your bullet velocity, and that's the Cavalry Lancer, which only states that it helps with your vehicle damage. And the funny thing about that is I also tested this against vehicles, and this doesn't boost your vehicle damage. All it does, as far as I can tell, is boost your bullet velocity, which is very strange, but this boosts it from 600 meters per second up to about 750 meters per second. So it is a noticeable boost to your bullet velocity here. And one thing I did want to point out here as well is the CARV.2 is shaping up to be one of the best vehicle destroyers in the entire game once this Cavalry Lancer barrel starts working properly. So once they eventually get around to fixing these barrels, which I assume they'll do at some point, I'm probably going to revisit this topic because this is likely going to be able to take out vehicles at any range very, very easily. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But for now, like I said, this doesn't help with your vehicle damage at all, and it is the only one that helps with your bullet velocity. But another thing I wanted to talk about, another key feature that we see with the Cold War burst weapons is for a lot of these barrels, they say that they boost your fire rate. So I wanted to put that to the test as well. And the first barrel, the rapid fire barrel, that's all it says it does is boost your fire rate. And it turns out this is accurate. It boosts your overall fire rate by about 5.5%. So that's a combination of your rate of fire within the burst as well as your burst delay. It's about a 5.5% improvement, which very slightly improves your time to kill, but not by a large margin. Then it's worth noting the Strike Team barrel, even though it doesn't mention that it improves your fire rate, it gives you the exact same improvement to your fire rate as that rapid fire barrel, which is interesting. Then with the Titanium barrel, this one also claims that it boosts your fire rates, and it turns out it boosts your fire rate the same amount as the rapid fire and the Strike Team barrel at a roughly 5.5%. And this was quite surprising. I thought the Titanium barrel would give you a better boost to your rate of fire since it has a downside, which is your effective damage range, even though with this gun, your effective damage range is kind of a useless stat. I still kind of expected the Titanium barrel to give you a slightly better rate of fire boost, but it doesn't. You get the same boost as with rapid fire. And those are the only barrels that are going to be boosting your fire rates. And out of all of them, if you are trying to boost your fire rates, you're best off with the rapid fire barrel because it has no downsides whatsoever, at least as far as I can tell, and it gives you the same fire rate as the others. Now, let's talk a little bit about the match grade barrel. This one's quite special because it says it improves your damage, not your damage range, but your actual damage. And I did some testing with this, and as far as I can tell, this has no impact on your damage whatsoever. So it's just a useless barrel attachment at this point. It only holds you back. It's not helping you at all, at least as far as I can tell. Again, maybe there's some weird stat that I didn't think of testing that this actually helps with, but it doesn't help with velocity, doesn't help with fire rate, and doesn't help with damage, and therefore I would avoid it until it hopefully gets fixed. So yeah, that's basically what's going on with the barrels at this point with the CARV.2. You can't really trust the stated stats at all on this. This is like going back to the initial Cold War integration here where the stated stats just mean nothing. But it does seem like they have been getting on top of these things lately, so I do anticipate some changes to these barrels, and I'll be sure to keep you guys updated if and when that actually happens. And knowing this, let's build a couple attachment combinations for the CARV.2 based on the current stats of the gun. And the first one I want to share with you guys is more designed for like close to mid ranges. This is actually an area where the CARV.2 does quite well. You can actually use this as a sniper support weapon just fine. It might not be your best option, but it is very usable. And with this, we're going to be using the Agency Suppressor. That one's always just a given. Boosts your bullet velocity, keeps you off the radar, and helps with the recoil a bit, which is all great. Then we're going to be using the rapid fire barrel on this one because since we're using it close to mid-range, it's much more important to just get your rounds out as quickly as possible, get as many rounds out as possible, and we don't really need to focus on bullet velocity all that much. And since the rapid fire barrel has no downsides, whereas the other ones that boost your rate of fire do have downsides, we're just going to stick with the rapid fire barrel on there. Then we're going to be using the radar pad to help with our aim walking movement speed. We've got the 45 round drum mag just because this is way more than enough with a 3-round burst gun in my opinion, and I don't see any reason to hurt our aim down sight time by using another magazine attachment when 45 rounds is more than enough, like I said. And then finally, we're going to be using the bruiser grip on this because it helps with our movement speed, which is great if we're using this as a sniper support role, and it helps with our hipfire accuracy. This thing still isn't great with hipfire even with a bruiser grip, so it's not that I'd recommend hipfiring, but if you ever end up in that desperate situation, then you've got slightly better hipfire at your disposal. So yeah, like I said, that's the first one that's designed more for close to mid-range. I would pair this with a sniper rifle because you can't really stretch this out to longer distances effectively. Now let's move on to my second setup, and this one's designed more as a primary weapon, something you can use in a pretty wide variety of situations. You can stretch your range out a little bit with it, and it also still kind of holds its own at those closer to mid-ranges, although of course you're going to be beat out by SMGs and assault rifles and stuff that are designed more for close ranges. But with this one, again, agency suppressor, that's an obvious choice. Then we're going to be using the cavalry lancer since this is the only barrel that boosts our bullet velocity, and we want to make sure we do that if we're trying to stretch out our ranges. Then I've got the Silex Hollow Scout on here. You could really use whatever optic you're comfortable with based on the ranges that you want to be fighting in, but I kind of like the Hollow Scout as long as I'm not using the default reticle on that. I'm not a big fan of that. Then after that, we've got the 54 round drum mag. And I know I said earlier that 45 rounds was more than enough, but with this one, since we are going to be stretching the ranges out, we're more likely to be missing shots on target. And therefore, it's nice to have a bit more of a boost to this, and you don't have to worry about aim down sight time as much for longer range situations, so that's why I decided to go with this one. And then finally, we've got the Field Agent foregrip, and this is going to help with our recoil, which again is going to be helping us when we're stretching our ranges a little bit. So yeah, at least for now, these are what I would recommend using as far as the CARV.2 goes based on your playstyle. And of course, I will keep you guys updated once these barrels eventually get fixed. I'm actually quite excited to see what this gun turns out to be like once these barrels get fixed, especially with that Cavalry Lancer barrel. I do feel like if this gives us that same sort of boost that we would expect out of this barrel, this is going to end up being one of the best guns for dealing with enemy vehicles in a really consistent manner at any range. Additionally, I feel like once they fix the barrels and the barrels start doing what they're intended to be doing, this gun is going to be much better than it currently is. As of right now, I do consider this to be kind of a mid-tier gun. I don't think it's terrible, but I also don't think it's amazing to be using. And that's largely due to the fact that we just don't have really great barrel options at this point, at least in my opinion. Once they're fixed, I do anticipate the CARV is going to end up being much better than it currently is. But that's just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the fact that the descriptions for these barrels are completely inaccurate at this point? And now that we've had the CARV.2 for about a week now, what are you guys thinking about it in Warzone? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or do you think it's just kind of okay? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.